the Sea of Trees. In the heart of Aokigahara, Japan's infamous Sea of Trees, four friends embarked on a journey that would forever alter their perception of reality. Alex, a skeptic with a penchant for rationality, joined Sarah, Mark, and Emily as they embarked on a daredevil adventure into the depths of the haunted forest. With the moonlight casting an eerie glow upon the gnarled trees, their laughter echoed as they embarked on what they believed to be a harmless exploration. The forest's ancient trees stood like stoic sentinels, their twisted branches casting ominous silhouettes on the path beneath. The rustling leaves seemed to whisper secrets only they could understand. At the beginning of their journey, laughter and jokes filled the air, bravado masking the growing unease beneath the surface. But as they ventured deeper, each step felt like a descent into a world untouched by time. "I can't believe we're actually doing this," Mark muttered, the bravado he wore like armor now wavering. Sarah managed a strained smile. "It's just a forest, right? What's there to be scared of?" But the forest held secrets too profound for mere words. As the sun dipped beneath the horizon, the once inviting path narrowed, the trees closing ranks like silent sentinels, guiding them further into the heart of the unknown. The moonlight filtered through the leaves, casting an eerie glow that painted the forest in a ghostly light. The air grew thick with a heavy silence, as if the forest itself held its breath. Their footsteps echoed, an almost eerie cadence that resonated with the beat of their hearts. Glimpses of movement teased them at the edges of their vision, fleeting, elusive like spirits darting just out of sight. Shadows seemed to shift and dance in the corners of their eyes, casting strange shapes that defied explanation. "Did anyone else hear that?" Emily's voice quivered, her flashlight's beam wobbling as she swept it through the darkness. The group fell silent, straining to catch any sound beyond the rustling leaves. Faint whispers seemed to ride the breeze, indistinct voices that spoke in a language both alien and haunting. Mark chuckled nervously, his laughter strained. "Just the wind, right? No need to freak out." But the forest seemed to laugh back at them, its own whispers growing louder, more insistent. Shadows shifted and swayed as if the very trees were alive with a spectral energy. Alex's eyes darted around, catching glimpses of movement just beyond his flashlight's reach. "Let's keep moving. It's probably just our imagination playing tricks on us." As they pressed forward, the rustling leaves became a cacophony, a symphony of the unnerving. The whispers seemed to take on a life of their own, voices overlapping in an eerie chorus. Shadows seemed to draw near, casting figures that appeared and vanished like specters in the night. And then, as if to test their nerves further, they heard it, an unmistakable sound that sent a shiver down their spines. Footsteps echoing through the silence, as if following them from the shadows. Sarah's grip tightened on her flashlight, her eyes darting around in search of the source. "Did you guys hear that?" Her voice trembled, and for the first time her bravado crumbled. The forest seemed to hold its breath, the world around them growing still. But then the sound came again, soft, deliberate footsteps that seemed to approach closer. Mark tried to laugh it off, his voice strained. "It's probably just an animal, let's not freak out." But the forest's response was more than just footsteps. Faint whispers joined the symphony, almost as if the trees themselves were whispering secrets. Shadows seemed to form shapes, vague yet unsettling, as if the very fabric of the forest was alive with an otherworldly energy. As they continued their journey, the tension grew almost unbearable. Emily's grip on her flashlight tightened, her voice shaking as she spoke. "Did you see that?" The group's collective gaze fixed on a figure, an apparition pale as moonlight, with long black hair obscuring its face. Terror surged, and they stumbled back, the breath catching in their throats. Time seemed to stretch, their heartbeats echoing through the forest's depths. The pale figure dissolved into the darkness, leaving them to grapple with a maddening uncertainty. "We need to get out of here now," Mark's voice trembled, a hint of fear slipping through his bravado. Frantic energy surged through the group as they retraced their steps, their flashlights casting wild beams that caught the glint of pale eyes and whispered secrets. The forest's path seemed to twist and warp, as if conspiring to confound their escape. The forest's whispers grew louder, an unintelligible chorus that seemed to echo from every direction. Shadows seemed to converge upon them, swirling like phantoms in the night. Panic took hold, driving their steps to a feverish pace. Their breaths came ragged and quick, the forest's malevolent presence pressing in upon them. Each glance over their shoulders revealed fleeting glimpses of movement. A flicker of hair, a ghostly form that vanished before they could focus. Sarah's flashlight flickered, casting erratic beams that illuminated twisted trees and elongated shadows. Her voice shook as she looked around, her fear palpable. "We need to find a way out." But the forest seemed to warp around them, the very ground beneath their feet shifting as if to ensnare them in its grasp. The tension was a physical force, pushing them onward through the suffocating darkness. As they stumbled through the labyrinth of trees, Emily's grip on Alex tightened, her nails digging into his skin. Her voice quivered on the edge of tears. "We're not alone here. I can feel it." Desperation fueled their movements, the gnawing fear urging them to escape the forest's clutches. But as they fled, the pale figure seemed to appear and disappear like a wraith, teasing them with its elusiveness. And then, in a chilling crescendo of terror, Mark was gone. One moment he was there, his startled cry echoing through the trees, and the next, silence. Panic surged through the remaining trio, their hearts racing, their breaths coming in ragged gasps. Sarah's eyes brimmed with tears, and she whispered Mark's name into the night, her voice a desperate plea. Alex's grip on her tightened, his mind racing as he scanned the shadows. "We have to find him. We can't leave him behind." The forest's malevolence tightened around them, the very air heavy with an unnatural stillness. The pale figure seemed to watch from the periphery, its presence a haunting reminder of their vulnerability. But no matter how they searched, Mark remained lost to the night. Their flashlights cast trembling beams that revealed nothing but twisted trees and eerie darkness. "We have to go back," Sarah's voice shook, a mixture of fear and determination. The forest whispers seemed to converge upon them, the indistinct voices growing louder and more insistent. Each step felt like a battle against an unseen force, their minds clouded by a growing panic. As they retraced their path, Emily stumbled and fell to the ground, her flashlight rolling away from her grasp. Fearful sobs racked her body as she cried out for Mark, her voice echoing through the night like a mournful lament. Alex and Sarah knelt beside her, their hearts heavy with grief and terror. The forest closed in around them, shadows dancing in the corners of their vision. And then, with an otherworldly chill, the pale figure materialized before them, its eyes gleaming like orbs of moonlight. Sarah's scream pierced the night, a primal cry that echoed through the trees. She scrambled to her feet, her flashlight falling from her trembling hand. Alex reached out, his fingers brushing Sarah's before she was yanked away, her cries fading into the darkness. Emily's eyes were wide with fear, her trembling form illuminated by the flickering light. "We can't just stay here, we have to find them," she whispered to Alex, her voice shaking. But the forest's grip seemed to tighten, its malevolent presence growing stronger with every passing second. The pale figure watched from the shadows, its eyes gleaming with an otherworldly light. In a desperate bid to escape, Alex grabbed Emily's hand and pulled her along, his mind racing as he tried to navigate the twisting paths. The forest's whispers grew louder, its malevolent energy driving them onward with a frantic urgency. As they fled, the forest seemed to warp and twist, its paths leading them deeper into its heart. Shadows danced at the edges of their vision, and Emily's cries were a constant reminder of the horrors that lurked just beyond their sight. But no matter how they tried to escape, the forest ensnared them in its grasp. And then, in a final crescendo of terror, Emily was torn from Alex's grip. One moment she was there, her fingers slipping from his as she was pulled into the shadows, and the next, silence. And just like that, Alex was alone. His breaths came in ragged gasps, tears streaming down his face as he stared into the abyss. The forest seemed to close in around him, a malevolent entity that fed upon his fear and desperation. The pale figure with its long black hair loomed before him, a haunting presence that defied understanding. Desperation and panic warred within him as he turned and fled, the forest's whispered secrets and sinister laughter chasing him through the night. Each step was a struggle, each breath a battle against the suffocating darkness. As the first light of dawn touched the horizon, Alex burst from the forest's grasp, his body trembling and his mind haunted by the horrors he had witnessed. Aokigahara stood silent and unmoving, as if guarding its secrets with ancient intent. And as the sun rose, bathing the forest in a feeble light, Alex knew that the nightmare of that night would forever haunt his dreams, a chilling reminder of the darkness that lurked within Aokigahara's depths. Whispers of the Damned Doll. In the heart of a quaint little town, nestled between towering trees and winding roads, lived a struggling family of three. The Thompsons, comprising Thomas, his wife Emily, and their young daughter Lily, were caught in the vice of financial distress. Bills piled up like ominous shadows, and the walls of their small apartment seemed to close in on them with each passing day. Hopelessness had set its claws deep into their hearts until an unexpected ray of light emerged. An old, abandoned house at the edge of the town, known only as the Harper House. The news of their new residence raised eyebrows among the locals, who muttered about the house's eerie history. Rumors spoke of inexplicable noises, chilling drafts, and a tragic family that had once occupied the dwelling. Ignoring the warnings, the Thompsons saw an opportunity for a fresh start and moved in with a mix of apprehension and excitement. Upon entering the house, they were greeted by an atmosphere heavy with time's weight. Dusty furniture lined the rooms, and fading wallpaper told stories of days long past. Thomas and Emily, their eyes reflecting a glimmer of hope, busied themselves with unpacking, while Lily, wide-eyed and curious, explored every nook and cranny. The attic, however, remained locked in an air of mystery, its door seemingly untouched for decades. It was during one fateful afternoon, as the wind howled outside and the rain tapped insistently on the window panes, that Emily stumbled upon an old rusted key in the basement. The key fit perfectly into the attic door's lock, and with trepidation and curiosity intermingled, the family climbed the creaking stairs to uncover what secrets lay hidden above. The attic was an amalgamation of forgotten treasures and cobweb-draped memories. Amidst the forgotten trinkets and dusty books, a sinister figure caught their attention. A doll, perched on a rickety shelf. Its porcelain skin had yellowed with age, and its glassy eyes seemed to hold a malevolent spark. Its crimson lips were set in a twisted smile, and its tiny fingers curled into claws that spoke of something far more sinister than innocence. Lily's fascination with the doll was palpable, and Thomas, wanting to kindle a sense of normalcy amidst their financial turmoil, allowed her to keep it. Unbeknownst to them, the doll seemed to bring with it a spectral presence that stirred the very soul of the house. The first signs of the doll's eerie influence manifested as subtle whispers that danced on the edges of their hearing. At night, the Thompsons would lie awake, listening to the inexplicable groans of the house and the faint, unsettling giggles that seemed to drift from room to room. Lily, blissfully unaware of the sinister undertones, giggled along, believing her new companion to be a source of comfort. As the days turned to weeks, the family's nights became restless. Shadows morphed into sinister shapes, and drafts grew icy and sharp. Objects shifted on their own, and the air felt charged with an otherworldly energy. Emily's unease grew palpable, her once cheerful demeanor now plagued by moments of paranoia. The doll, too, seemed to evolve. Its smile became more pronounced, its eyes more penetrating. Its position on the shelf would subtly shift, as if it possessed a will of its own. Emily's unease turned into fear, and fear into dread, as she swore that the doll's gaze followed her wherever she went. Her sleep became fitful, interrupted by twisted dreams where the doll's glassy eyes bore into her soul. One night, as the moon hung low and a thick fog enveloped the house, Emily awoke to a chilling sight. The doll stood at the foot of her bed, its once still limbs now poised in a mockery of life. Its lips curled into a perverse grin as it stared down at her, unblinking and malevolent. Emily's scream pierced the silence, waking Thomas, who rushed to her side. Frantic and disoriented, Emily pointed at the doll, but as Thomas turned his gaze to where she indicated, the doll was once again perched on the shelf, its pose innocent and inanimate. Thomas brushed off Emily's claims as a product of her sleep-deprived mind, but as the weeks wore on, he too began to experience the unsettling aura that seemed to emanate from the doll. The doll's influence escalated. Its giggles turned into guttural whispers that echoed through the house, speaking of darkness and doom. Visions plagued the family, flashes of shadowy figures, spectral hands that reached out, and grotesque faces that twisted and contorted. The walls themselves seemed to pulse with a malevolent energy, as if the house itself was alive with a presence far from human. Lily, once enamored with her newfound friend, began to show signs of distress. Her innocent laughter turned into fits of tearful hysteria, her wide eyes reflecting a terror she could not articulate. The doll's hold over her grew stronger, as if weaving tendrils of darkness around her very soul. Desperation gnawed at the Thompsons, and their fractured nights became a descent into madness. The walls seemed to close in, the whispers grew louder, and the doll's sinister smile haunted their every waking moment. In a last-ditch effort to break free, they sought the help of a local paranormal investigator, who arrived with an air of skepticism. The investigator's initial demeanor wavered as he entered the house, sensing the oppressive atmosphere that clung to the very air. As he set up his equipment, the doll seemed to vibrate with malevolence, its eyes alight with a ghastly glow. With a sudden burst of energy, the investigator confronted the doll, demanding it to reveal its true nature. And then it happened. The doll's porcelain exterior cracked and splintered, revealing a grotesque and twisted form beneath, a nightmarish visage of horns, fangs, and gaping voids where its eyes should be. A guttural voice filled the air, promising pain and torment, echoing the suffering of souls long gone. The investigator's face paled as the true nature of the doll became apparent, a vessel for a malevolent entity that had been trapped within the house for centuries. The investigator's struggle to contain the entity was more prolonged and grueling than before. The doll's unearthly voice resonated through the house, rattling the very foundations. Objects levitated and shattered, and the walls seemed to ooze with a vile, dark substance. The family watched in terror as the investigator invoked ancient incantations and brandished holy relics, battling against the relentless onslaught of malevolent energy. Time seemed to distort as the battle raged on, the house itself seeming to twist and contort as the entity fought back with all its might. Emily and Thomas, overcome by a mixture of fear and determination, joined the investigator in a final desperate push to banish the evil that had haunted their home. With the power of faith and a sheer will to protect their family, the Thompsons channeled their energies into a concentrated effort. The room trembled, the walls pulsed, and a blinding light erupted from the doll, illuminating the entire attic. The entity's screams echoed through the air, its malevolent form writhing and distorting in agony. As the battle reached its crescendo, the entity's grip on the doll faltered, and with a final burst of brilliance, the doll shattered into countless shards, its malevolent presence dissipating into nothingness. The room fell into stillness, the air clearing, and the oppressive weight that had lingered for weeks finally lifted. The investigator, exhausted but triumphant, stood amid the remnants of the shattered doll. The Thompsons, their faces streaked with dirt and sweat, took deep breaths, finally free from the clutches of the malevolent entity that had plagued their lives. The Harper house, once a place of darkness, now stood as a testament to the family's resilience and the power of human determination. The battle had been fierce, the toll heavy, but the Thompsons emerged from the ordeal stronger than before. The townspeople, inspired by their bravery, would forever remember the tale of the family's struggle against an unseen evil, a battle fought not only in the physical realm but also in the depths of their souls. The Desolate Road, a Nightmarish Journey. The night was pitch black, cloaked in an eerie silence broken only by the soft hum of the engine. Mark had been driving for hours, the road stretching on like an endless ribbon through the dense forest. The trees loomed on either side, their gnarled branches casting ominous shadows across the asphalt. The wind whispered through the leaves, carrying with it a chill that seeped into the car's interior. Mark's knuckles turned white as he gripped the steering wheel, his heart pounding faster with each passing mile. His destination was a small town where he had a job interview early the next morning. Mark was a recent college graduate, eager to secure his first job in his field. He had taken the advice of a friend to take a shortcut through this remote road, aiming to reach the town faster. As the minutes ticked by, Mark's anxiety grew. The road seemed to stretch on endlessly, the trees forming an impenetrable barrier around him. The only source of light was the car's headlights, which cut through the darkness like a fragile lifeline. His phone's GPS had long lost its signal, leaving him completely isolated. As he continued driving, a flicker in the corner of his eye drew Mark's attention to the rear-view mirror. He jerked his head around but saw nothing but the empty road he had just traveled. His pulse quickened as a sensation of being watched washed over him, causing his skin to prickle with unease. His eyes returned to the road ahead, and that's when he noticed it, a figure standing on the side of the road. A chill ran down his spine as he realized there was no discernible reason for anyone to be out here at this time of night. As he approached, the figure came into focus, a pale woman with long dark hair that seemed to sway in a breeze that wasn't there. Her eyes were hollow, devoid of any emotion, and they locked onto Mark's with an intensity that sent shivers down his spine. Instinctively, Mark slammed on the brakes, bringing the car to a screeching halt. He turned to look at the woman, his heart racing. Without warning, she started to approach the car frantically, her bare feet making no sound on the road. Panic surged through Mark's veins, and he fumbled to lock the car doors. He was trapped, a spectator in his own nightmare. As the woman drew closer, her features became more distinct, and Mark could see the unnatural pallor of her skin, as if she had been drained of life itself. Her lips parted slightly, revealing teeth that seemed unnaturally sharp. A guttural fear overcame him as he realized that the woman wasn't just any stranger. She was something otherworldly, something malevolent. In a desperate bid to escape, Mark slammed his foot on the gas pedal, tires screeching against the road as the car accelerated away from the haunting figure. He stole a glance in the rearview mirror, only to find that she was now standing directly in the center of the road. Her eyes fixated on him with an intensity that felt like a physical weight. No matter how fast Mark drove, the woman remained a constant presence in his rearview mirror. Every time he looked, she was there, closing the distance with an unnatural swiftness that defied all logic. His heart raced and a cold sweat coated his palms as the dread of the situation settled over him like a suffocating fog. Time lost all meaning as the road seemed to stretch on endlessly, the same monotonous landscape of trees and darkness repeating itself. Mark's mind was unraveling, the combination of exhaustion, fear, and the unending road eroding his sanity. He tried to call for help on his cell phone, but every attempt resulted in static-filled silence. As the night wore on, Mark's desperation grew. He couldn't escape the feeling that he was trapped in a nightmare from which there was no waking. He had become a prisoner of the road, a puppet in a twisted game orchestrated by an otherworldly force. The woman's presence continued to haunt him, her image etched into his mind like a nightmarish tattoo. Just when Mark thought he could take no more, the woman's form began to change. Her features distorted, elongating and contorting in ways that defied the laws of nature. The car's interior grew frigid, and a guttural, inhuman growl filled the air. Mark's vision blurred, and he felt a surge of terror unlike anything he had ever experienced. Time lost all meaning as Mark's sanity teetered on the edge. He couldn't discern whether he was awake or trapped in a hallucinatory nightmare. The car's headlights flickered, casting erratic shadows that danced like specters on the road. Mark's pulse quickened, and he felt the weight of an otherworldly presence bearing down on him. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, the car's engine sputtered and the headlights flickered one last time before dying out. The vehicle coasted to a stop, leaving Mark in utter darkness. His hands trembled as he gripped the steering wheel, his breath ragged. He was surrounded by an impenetrable silence, broken only by the sound of his own heartbeat. Mark stepped out of the car, his legs weak as he surveyed his surroundings. The road stretched ahead, disappearing into the inky void. He was alone, his only company the suffocating darkness. The air hung heavy with an otherworldly stillness, and he felt a lingering presence as if someone or something was watching him from the shadows. With no other option, Mark began to walk, his steps echoing in the emptiness. As he moved forward, the road seemed to stretch on endlessly, each step a testament to his isolation. The night held him captive, a prisoner of his own fears and the inexplicable forces that had ensnared him. To this day, Mark's fate remains unknown. Some say he vanished into the darkness, becoming a part of the road itself. Others believe he eventually emerged from the nightmare, forever haunted by the memories of that nightmarish journey. And as the years pass, the tale of Mark's inexplicable experience continues to be whispered in hushed tones, a cautionary tale for those who dare to drive the desolate road at night.